Hello and welcome to Villa Park and LCFC Radio's Matchday Live for this huge Carabao Cup semi-final second leg.
It's a super goal from Matt Elliott.
It's certainly all to play for after the first leg at King Power Stadium.
Kelechi Iheanacho, it's 1-1!
It's Aston Villa against Leicester City and a place at Wembley awaits. This is Matchday Live.
And Didi hits in, saved by Kasper Schmeichel. Oh, what an absolute cracker from Harvey Barnes!
Your place for all the big moments. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
And the all-important team news, Jamie Vardy is back in the Matchday squad but starts on the bench this evening at Villa Park. Kelechi Iheanacho leads the line. Meanwhile, Wilfred Ndidi is in from the start following that knee operation 2.5 weeks ago. In all, 8 changes from the win at Brentford. Only Iheanacho, Ayoze Perez and Chagla Soyuncu remain. This is the Leicester 11. Kasper Schmeichel in goal in a normal 4-1-4-1 formation. The back four, Ricardo, Soyuncu, Johnny Evans and Ben Chilwell. Ndidi is the holding midfielder. Ahead of him, Ayoze Perez, Yuri Tielemans, James Maddison and Harvey Barnes, with Iheanacho up front. 3 League Cup goals already for him this season. On the bench for Leicester, Danny Ward, James Justin, Damari Gray, Philip Benkovic, Mark Albrighton, Dennis Pratt and Jamie Vardy. Villa's squad looks a bit different from the first leg 3 weeks ago, and they hand new signing Mwana Samatta his debut tonight after his move from Belgian champions Genk not too long ago. It is one of 3 changes from their last match, which was a week ago in the Premier League against Watford. Orhan Nyland replaces Pepe Reina in goal, and Douglas Luiz also comes in for the cup-tied former Leicester hero Danny Drinkwater in midfield. Villa go with 3 at the back again, Nyland in goal as I mentioned. The back 3 is Ezri Konsa, Tyrone Mings and Courtney Hawes. The wing-backs, Frederick Gilbert, who got their goal at the King Power on the right, Matt Targett on the left, with Luis and Marvellous Nakamba in central midfield. The front 3, Jack Grealish and Anwar El Ghazi supporting the Tanzania international Samatta up front.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yes, welcome to Villa Park. Welcome to LCFC Radio's Matchday Live with me, Dan Bates, and Gerry Taggart ahead of a huge night for Leicester City. Gerry Taggart, that's an understatement still, isn't it, calling it huge? How excited are you for this one?
Yeah, well, I think probably just as much as everybody else. You know, obviously it brings back a lot of memories for myself, the guys in the studio as well. And, you know, Matt touched on it at the second leg of the semi-final. It was when you really feel like, you know, you're in a proper cup semi-final. And tonight, that's exactly what we have here. Just interesting to hear the team news. The Samatta starting, Aston Villa have a centre forward. So that's probably the most significant piece about that team news, I would say, is that Villa have thrown caution to the wind slightly and put the new man straight onto the pitch. Thank you very much. That tells you a little bit of how Villa are going to try and go about their business tonight.
From a Leicester City point of view, looking at the team news there, I suppose the thing that will excite Leicester fans most is A, Jamie Vardy back on the bench for the Foxes, and B, Wilfred Ndidi in that central midfield role.
Yeah, I think when you analyse, you know, both players, I think Wilfred coming back in is humongous for the side. I really do. I know some
Can that be underestimated?
No, and I think some people will always downplay it slightly, but from what I've seen, you know, obviously without him in the team, I'm not saying Leicester are necessarily a Leicester team, but what he gives to the side is, you know, truly quite amazing. And when he's not out of it, then there's nobody as good as him at the minute to take his place. As far as Jamie's concerned, again, Kelechi has shown yet again that given the chance this season, then he's more than happy to come to the party, and he's done it on more than one occasion. And again, he did it last time out.
Well, the stats really bear fruit for Kelechi Iheanacho on that point, Gerry. He scored his 7th goal in just 12 games this season in that 1-0 win at Brentford in the FA Cup on Saturday, and that underlines how important he has been, that when he's played, he's scored goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And apparently his goal-scoring record against Villa is quite exceptional as well. Along with, he scored here, didn't he, in the 4-1 win, and also his record when he was at Man City is very good as well. So again, watch out Villa.
And he's been creating goals as well. He created one here in that Everton game when he was really thrust back into it from a Leicester point of view. Obviously, he scored that VAR intervened late winner, but he also set up Jamie Vardy's equaliser.
Yeah, that's right. And also, of course, you got to remember, he scored and got the penalty, didn't he? He got the penalty against West Ham. Yeah. So again, he's in good form, Kelechi, and obviously, if Jamie Vardy's 100%, then you would play him, but it's slightly different to the absence of Wilfred, because Kelechi, as I said, he's coming in. His goal scoring record, as I've just said, is as good as anybody's games, per minutes played. So he probably deserves a start, you'd have to say. So I've got no issues with Kelechi starting tonight.
Before we take a look more at the context of the semi-final and what the players might be thinking, what you were thinking, of course, 20 years ago, just one other bit on the team news. In the first leg, Brendan Rodgers reverted to a back five, didn't he? And it's fair to say it didn't quite work in that first half, but they got the draw in the end. They've come here and he's reverted to what he is tried and trusted in doing in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's right. And listen, Brendan will have his own reasons. Far be it from me to pick holes in Brendan's formations, but he obviously sees things that we don't and changes things for good reason. And sometimes, well, more often than not, it comes off. But like you say, on that occasion, it just didn't quite work for him. Now, the last time we came here, Leicester played a diamond formation. And you have to say there was only one winner in that game, as the scoreline would suggest. But as far as controlling the game, then Leicester were head and shoulders above Villa. But as you have alluded to, it looks like he's gone back to his tried and trusted formation, which I think suits everybody. I really do, and it'll suit Kelechi as well.
And Villa changed a lot of what they did and the way they approached games as well after that Leicester game here, and before they were playing back fours, now they went to back fives. Obviously that worked at King Power Stadium, and you look at the results from that Leicester game, they've had a couple of wins, 4 wins since then, obviously a few losses in there as well, but that change clearly has been vital to the way Dean Smith and Villa's season has gone so far.
Yeah, I think, when you're coming into a game like this, you've got to look at form, and Villa's form have picked up, haven't they, in the last few weeks, and no bigger win than the win against Watford, because that was a real 6-pointer down the bottom there. And that's just, obviously taking them further away from the relegation zone. So that was a massive game for them. And so you have to say that Villa come in to this game in decent form and with a good degree of confidence. So this is what sort of makes this game that little bit more intriguing than you would say, because it's not as clear cut as one might think. And also throw into the mix, obviously, with it being a cup game and not a league game, then it's and a cup game that is level at 1-1. Then it's all to play for both teams. You have to say it's all about what happens on the night.
Yeah, it's all to play for, certainly. It'll be interesting to see how both teams mentally prepare for the game. And speaking on LCFC Radio's Extra Time last night, Matt Elliott, the man that was the hero, of course, at this stage of the competition 20 years ago against the same opposition, says the experienced players for Leicester will be key tonight to help prepare the team mentally.
Yeah, it is. And then, you take faith in that and belief in that, don't you, as well? Because, I think Leicester have done that a few times this season. They've gone into games and they've trusted themselves to go and perform, and sometimes they've had to sort of grind out results, really, but they've kept doing what they've practiced, and it's paid dividends for them. But I think the majority of the team, even though they're young, they've got enough experience in there. 4 or 5 of these lads have won the Premier League.
You were here, obviously, 20 years ago, Gerry, in that semi-final, and was trying to get from that last night. What were you like mentally? Because they were obviously huge games, 2 potentially of the biggest in your career, and it'll be a lot, you think, for both sets of players. Obviously, I know the Leicester players have had Champions League football, Premier League football, but certainly for the younger lads so far in their career, potentially the biggest game for a lot of the Villa players, it may well be for their whole careers. So mentally, how difficult is it right now, an hour away from kick-off? You know you're about to play in such a massive game.
Yeah, well, it can be as difficult or as easy to deal with as you make it. Yeah, it's all down to individuals. I can only speak from experience. Yes, you know, you're pretty nervous. You have to say that. You know, we talked about it at the weekend briefly on, I think the last 10 minutes in the dressing room before you go out is probably the worst. When you come back in from your warm-up and you're waiting to go back out because you're ready. Once the ref blows his whistle and the game gets going, then pretty soon after that you get into the rhythm. It's a game of football. Experienced players obviously will get into a rhythm slightly quicker. So that's the main thing, is to try and stay as calm and relaxed as you can before you go out onto the pitch. That's the manager's job, the coach's job, and also the experienced players in the dressing room. You know, to make sure that everybody stays calm. Yes, everyone is aware of what's taking place tonight, none more so than the players. But it's important that you try and treat it like another game of football that you want to go and win, and not get too caught up or carried away with the actual situation that you find yourselves in.
How do you do that though? How do you stop the weight of expectation and the pressure? How do you stop it getting to you and affecting the way that you go about your football?
I think the main thing is the communication lines between the manager, the coaches and the players themselves. You know, plenty of chatting in the dressing room. You know, you look at Mike Stall now, he's out there, Casper's got a smile on his face, he'll go through the same routine as he always goes through. Nothing will change. And so it's all about that. It's all about concentrating on the here and now. I'm not worrying too much about what's going to happen in just under an hour's time. Just go through your routine, your pre-match routine that most players have, and try and keep a hold of yourself before you go out in the pitch. Because for me, that's the worst bit, is when you come in after doing your after you've done your warm-up, and then you've got those final few moments before the manager then does his final team talk before you go out. They're, for me, the most nerve-wracking minutes. When I say once the whistle goes, it's business as usual, so to speak. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're talking about a cup semi-final, potential Wembley final. So there is a lot riding on it, and mentally it can take its toll.
That's the voice of Gerry Taggart, one of the men that was involved the last time these two teams faced each other in the semi-final of this competition. And 20 years ago, just like it is tonight, it's finally poised going into the second leg. So let's have a listen back then to the 1-1 draw 3 weeks ago that sets up this mouth-watering second leg.
Whether it be a Premier League trophy presentation, a Champions League night, or even a more sombre occasion, King Power Stadium knows how to host a big occasion for the Blue Army. A first semi-final for 20 years is about to unfold. 16 yards from the Villa goal, it comes back to Pratt. It's Perez again, he's got a shot in, and it's only just wide. Leicester claim a deflection, it will be a corner. That was very, very close to the opener. Crowded out again, but he's managed to find Jamie Vardy. This could be a chance for Jamie Vardy. Saved by Nyland, just inside the 6-yard area again at the angle. But stood firm, the goalkeeper didn't go down and didn't give Vardy too many options, and in the end the shot striking the Norwegian. Grealish is away down the right-hand side, support either side of him as he gets to the edge of the area. Tries to roll one into the penalty area, 3-2 on the stretch. Able to get the ball partially clear, but Villa still have it on the far side with Trezeguet. It's a chip ball in, and it's come through to Gilbert, and Aston Villa against the run of play strike first in this League Cup semi-final. Grealish, right footage, Michael coming but not getting there, and it's bounced off the bar, and Villa nearly found a second just before half-time. Heady clear, it's Maddison, right side of the penalty area, 18 yards out, left footed shot, Mings rising to head the ball over his own bar. Half time. and the Foxes go in a goal down at the break. Leicester push slightly back, but now they come forward. Maddison, edge of the area. Ricardo, back to Maddison, opens up. Maddison, great save, and then cleared away by Courtney House. First big opportunity for the Foxes in this half, and it came the way of James Maddison, who scored in his last 3 League Cup ties. There is a yellow card in Comter for time wasted. Twice he attempted to take the free kick, and on both occasions, as he got to the ball, step back. Vardy looking for Iheanacho. Kelechi Iheanacho! It's 1-1! We're all square again at King Power Stadium, and it's that man Kelechi Iheanacho once again with his 6th of the season. He's 3rd in the League Cup. It just fell kindly to him. Left-hand side, about 7 yards out, and he has lashed it beyond Nyland, who seemed unbeatable in this game. Some vital saves made by the Norwegian goalkeeper, but Iheanacho comes off the bench and provides Leicester with an equaliser. It's 1-1. Brighton winning the ball back 20 yards from the Villa goal. Vardy, edge of the area, back to goal, lined up for Maddison. Thought Vardy might turn and shoot himself, but felt that Maddison was in a better position. Vardy with the assist for the first goal, nearly teed up Maddison, but he shot way off target and into the cop as Ricardo breaks up the Villa play. That's a 1-2 with Maddison, and Ricardo is over the halfway line, only Vardy ahead of him. Vardy making a diagonal run. Jamie Vardy off the outside of the post, and so close to the Foxes taking an advantage late in this game. A storming run from Ricardo, a wonderful run from Vardy, which Ricardo picked out right of the 18-yard area, got his shot in, but struck the outside of the post and fell for a goal kick. We reconvene in a few weeks, and pretty much as you were, because it's 1-1 here at King Power Stadium. Kelechi Iheanacho coming off the bench, and with one of his first touches provided what could be a crucial equaliser in this tie.
Your place for all the big moments. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
You are indeed listening to Matchday Live here on LCFC Radio with me, Dan Bates. Gerry Taggart sat alongside me here as Villa Park steadily fills up ahead of the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. Those of you who know Villa Park will know that the away end is in the corner on one of the sides, but it isn't this evening. The Leicester fans have been moved to behind the goal, which is to our left here in the press box. They've got that whole end and expecting to bring lots and lots of fans and lots of noise. And Gerry, I guess that is going to be an important thing tonight, isn't it? The atmosphere. When we talk about Aston Villa a little bit later, we'll hear from Gary Thompson. He says the home advantage could be massive for Villa tonight. So how important is it for those travelling Leicester fans to our left-hand side to really get involved this evening?
Hugely important. You know, obviously, if we go back to the league game, it didn't really matter that much. There was only a small portion of fans over in the far corner, but as you say, tonight, you know, they've got a full stand. Is it they've got tonight? Yeah, looks like a full stand they've got tonight. So, you know, hugely important night for them as well to make sure they get behind the boys, which they will. You know, there's been no doubt about it. The players won't come off the pitch tonight and have any excuses about the fans, because they will get behind the players tonight.
Listening back to those highlights of the first leg, how important is that Kelechi Iheanacho goal, do you think, in the context of this tie?
Well, because there's no away goals, then not as important as it would have been if away goals had still have been in play. You know, obviously I think it's in play only at the end of extra time, or it was, and now they've completely done away with him. But still, it's still a very, very important goal from Kelechi, because it just took a little bit of steam out of Villa. You know, in that second half, they were hanging on for dear life at times. And the way the goal was scored is not something that Dean Smith will want to see too many times, either. But that's pure credit to Leicester. First Chowdhury, Hamza Chowdhury, then Jamie Vardy getting the ball to Iheanacho, and obviously the finish from Kelechi. So great bit of football, you know, off the cuff football, let's call it, because it's something. It came from an Aston Villa free kick, and it took them an age to play it in the first place. So obviously vitally important, just to take back a little bit of that momentum that Villa had on the evening.
And the context of the tie then here, with it being 1-1, I guess because Villa now, the onus isn't on them. if it was 1-0, if they'd managed to hold on, they could have just sat back tonight exactly as they did at King Power Stadium. Whereas now it's 1-1, they are expected somewhat to try and come out.
Yeah, but that's the expectation levels, or the expectation sort of the crowd here would say, it's 1-1. We're you know, we've come away, you know, from the home of the third best team in the league, intact. We're 1-1. We could have won it on the night. We could have, you know, smash and grab, whatever you want to call it. But it's 1-1. So now you're expecting, as you said, well, home advantage, the home team to be a bit more creative in their play. They've got a centre forward on the pitch tonight, which they didn't have at King Power Stadium. So you would expect that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dean Smith plays at KG even though he's at home tonight. I really wouldn't be surprised. Nothing would surprise me tonight. Whether he goes all guns blazing or whether he sits back, soaks the pressure up and tries to play on the counter-attack the same way he did at King Power Stadium. We'll just have to wait and see the tactics. But, you know, there's 2 or 3 options open to every manager before they go into any game. It's all about analysing that game, where you could have done better, where you could have done better going forward, where you could have done better defensively, working on that, and then deciding on a tactic that you're going to take onto the pitch.
Well, let's get the thoughts then of one of the current Leicester City squad members, and he's starting this evening. Gerry Taggart was asked whether they can take confidence from the league win here at Villa Park in December.
Yeah, but I think it will be a totally different game when you play a semi-final, especially now it's the second leg, and it's been a draw at our house. So I think they will be very confident as well, because they play at home, and with their supporters they think they can do even better than what they did at our house. So I think it will be a very interesting game.
He doesn't want to be drawn too much on comparing the two, because they are, I guess, completely different games, Gerry.
They are, but and 2 different formations tonight are, you know, well, especially as far as Leicester are concerned. You know as a player that you can beat this team. That's the most important thing. But you're right, it is a different game, and it's not just about picking up points tonight. There's a lot more mental pressure on tonight because of, you know, what's at stake, a trip to Wembley. You know, throughout the game, you could see 2 or 3 different tactical changes from either manager, you know, that sways this game. You know, you could see Tyrone Mings going up front, you know what I mean, becoming a nuisance. So there's a lot of different ways managers can try and work out how to get a result depending on what's happening at any minute of the game. And that's what the managers do these days. They work on tactical changes on a minute-by-minute basis and scenarios when they arise in a game. So they both probably pick the 2 formations that both teams are most comfortable in at this moment in time. But don't be surprised if that changes after 65, 70 minutes or even earlier. And then again at 80 minutes, 85 minutes. You know, all kind of conundrums and scenarios could play out here tonight. So it's just going to be hopefully an amazing match to watch, and obviously one to analyse as well.
And from that 4-1 in December, obviously it was only a month and a half ago, Leicester surely, and those fans away to our left hand side, will be able to take immense confidence from that. Coming to a place like Villa Park, yes, I know they're down near the bottom of the Premier League, but it's always traditionally a tough place to come. There's the local derby aspect of it too, and they came here and were so convincing in victory.
That's what they have to believe. You know, that's what they have to take out of that, is we know we can beat them. We know we can beat them on their own patch. Yes, it was a slightly different Villa side. They were, you know, the form is slightly better than it was now. It's an away tie in a cup competition, so you have to say that Villa slightly have the upper edge as far as the second leg being at home. But Leicester, as I said, will go into the game knowing that they've been here already this season and wiping the floor with them basically on that day.
The Leicester players have just come out for their warm-ups here this evening. Right in front of us here at Villa Park, we're just seeing Damari Gray and James Maddison exchange a few passes with each other. Right next to them is Kelechi Iheanacho. As the Foxes incidentally came out of the tunnel, the camera was fixed solely on Kelechi Iheanacho, Gerry, and I guess that is the story really from a Leicester point of view, because he is the main man up front for Leicester this evening.
Absolutely, and you know, as I said, he's got a decent goal scoring record against Villa from his time at Man City. So rightly so, and he's obviously replacing Leicester's talisman in Jamie Vardy, and rightly so. His goal scoring record coming into this game is really good. So you know, he can be forgiven for getting all the attention at the moment.
Well, we'll hear from Gerry Taggart again. He was asked in the week if they mentally approach the game differently because it's a semi-final as opposed to the normal Premier League build-up.
Yeah, I think mentally, you know, it's a semi-final, so you're gonna give everything mentally, like you do every game. But I think you just have to play like you always do. Try to build up our game. Try to do our thing. Don't think about what's around us, semi-final, final. I think we just have to take it as a normal game, but just give everything and try and win the game.
How big of a night is it, Gerry, do you think, for Gerry Taggart this evening?
Could be very big, couldn't it? You know, if he plays well tonight, Gerry, then, you know, we've seen against West Ham, his passing game was excellent, I thought. You know, he was in the running for man of the match for me with that passing. And he has had a bit of slipping form as well. Well, that's to do with the fixture pile up, and he's just not used to playing, you know, when there's a fixture pile up to the same levels we're used to seeing him. I don't know, but definitely when he came back in against West Ham, I thought he was excellent on the night. So if he can get his passing boots on tonight, then we could see fireworks here.
He had a couple of games off, didn't he? Or he was certainly rested, placed on the bench for a few games, and then, as you say, against West Ham, he seemed to be back to his very best that we saw earlier on in the season.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and he spoke well there in that interview. I think, you know, he's got it spot on. You know, you can't think too far ahead. You have to just focus on the here and now. Try and treat it like any other game, which is pretty difficult because obviously the build-up to a game like this is different. And that's the bit of that affects you. You know, the media build-up, the fans, the history, you name it. It all comes along this week in the build-up to the second leg semi-final. But, you know, you have to try and shut that out. Treat it like any other game. And I said, to a certain degree it is. It's the key moments in the game that you have to handle well. And that's where, you know, we talk about the experienced players in the team coming to the fore, keeping everybody calm. You know, and saying, calm down, let's just deal with one thing at a time, one issue at a time. But he's, you know, for such a young lad, you know, he's definitely talking the right way about trying to handle the situation tonight.
And he's one of those players that is capable of pure quality, isn't he? Leicester have a lot of those in there.
Yeah.
And from midfield, the likes, obviously, of James Maddison, if Leicester get a set piece, and then Gerry Taggart in open play. On nights like this, you get a sense that one bit of quality can win a game and send your team to Wembley.
Absolutely. And we've seen it in the past with Tielemans in those key areas and key moments in the game where, you know, his composure on the ball just comes to the fore. You know, we've seen it with him laying goals on for Vardy with just sublime passes that you think, you know, he's going to shoot here. And he just picks the right option out and it's a tap in for Vardy. We've seen it before. And it's all about those moments recreating themselves in the game tonight and him doing exactly the same kind of thing that we've seen in the past.
When you look at the facts of it for Gerry Taggart, he hasn't actually scored since October. Back in this competition against Burton that evening, that was after going on a brilliant run of 4 goals in a row, for both his country and for Leicester. So that's one aspect that he'll be looking at, hoping to add goals to his game again, but it isn't the be-all and end-all for Gerry Taggart, is it?
No. I think of creative style is important. He's as good a player as James Maddison in. He's a different type of player to Gerry. Gerry is a player who sees a pass, sees a gap, and is exquisite in finding that pass and finding that gap. Slightly different to James, who wears back to goal. I think is probably one of the best in the league, wears back to goal. Well, the way he uses both his feet, and so it's a different. He's more of a creative player with his passing than anybody else in the team. So he's got something slightly different to an Ndidi, to a Madison. And it's all about him finding that space on the pitch to be able to create those passes and create that space for other players.
Yes, Wilfred Ndidi, Gerry Tielemans and James Maddison in the Leicester City midfield this evening at Villa Park for the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. Let's get a recap then of tonight's team moves with our commentator Chris Parrott.
In all, there are 8 changes from the FA Cup win of Brentford on Saturday. Most notably, Kelechi Iheanacho leads the line. Still, he is one of the 3 who remain because Jamie Vardy is fit enough, but only for the bench. Iheanacho has 5 goals in 5 games in his career against Aston Villa. This is the Leicester 11. Kasper Schmeichel in goal in a 4-1-4-1 formation. Ricardo, Chagba-Soyuncu, Johnny Evans and Ben Chilwell are the back 4. Wilfred Ndidi, the holding midfielder, back and fit to start. Ahead of him, Ozzy Perez on the right, Harvey Barnes on the left, Gerry Tielemans and James Maddison in midfield 2, with Iheanacho up front. On the bench alongside Vardy, Dennis Pratt, Mark Albrighton, Philip Benkovic, Damari Gray, James Justin and Danny Ward. Now for Aston Villa, they didn't have a single fit centre forward for the first leg. They have a couple now at Villa Park tonight, including Mbwana Samatta, who only arrived this week and has handed his debut, having signed for around 10 million quid from the Belgian champions Genk. He will lead the line, supporting him in a 3-4-3 formation of Jack Grealish and Anwar El Ghazi. Orhan Nyland is in goal. The back 3 is Courtney Hawes, Tyrone Mings and Ezri Konsa. The midfield 4, Frederick Gilbert and Matt Targett, the wing-backs, with Douglas Luiz and Marvellous Nakamba in central midfield. And then that front 3, as I mentioned, Grealish, El Ghazi and Samatta. On the bench for Villa, Matija Sarkic, James Chester, Henry Lansbury, Conor Hourihane, Mahmoud Trezeguet, Ahmed El Mohammadi and Keenan Davis. No sign of Pepe Reina, which is why Orhan Nyland is back in goal, Dan.
Thanks, Chris. Still plenty more to come here on Matchday Live on LCFC Radio ahead of kick-off. We've got all 90 minutes, of course, available live from 7:45. Before that, though, we'll hear from former Villa striker Gary Thompson, as well as both managers Dean Smith and Brendan Rodgers.
You're listening to LCFC Radio.
Breaking news. The UK has updated advice for travellers as the coronavirus outbreak continues. Officials are now advising against all but essential travel to mainland China. 106 people in the country have died from the virus. Boris Johnson's defied Donald Trump by allowing Chinese firm Huawei to have a limited role in the UK's 5G network. The US has concerns the company's too closely linked to the Chinese government. Restrictions have been placed on the company and it can't supply more than 35% of the kit. Ed Brewster is from the tech firm.
Our relationship with the Chinese government is no different from any other major company operating in China. Our success is based on the company's commitment, particularly to research and development. So that's what's giving us a leadership. We're getting no subsidies that aren't available to any other Chinese company.
The US president's announced a new peace plan for the Middle East, but so far it's only supported by Israel. He says his proposals offer a realistic two-state solution that will benefit Palestinian people. But the package allows Israel to hold on to major settlement blocks in the West Bank. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he can work with the blueprints.
Because I believe your peace plan strikes the right balance where other plans have failed. I've agreed to negotiate peace with the Palestinians on the basis of your peace plan.
Tributes have been paid to Nicholas Parsons, who's died at the age of 96. Graham Norton was among those to remember the veteran broadcaster as an inspiration. In sport, Catalan's decision to sign Israel Folau is being criticised by fellow rugby players. He was previously sacked by the Australian Rugby Union team for making homophobic comments. And a place in the League Cup final at Wembley is on the line this evening as Aston Villa host Leicester City. The tie is in the balance following a 1-1 draw in the first leg. That's the latest. I'm Kat Suave.
The only place you can listen to every Leicester City match online. This is LCFC Radio.
Yes, welcome back to Matchday Live here on LCFC Radio with me, Dan Bates, Gerry Taggart, a hero of that Leicester team that won the last time these two sides met in a semi-final in 2000 in this competition. It's the last time Leicester were in a semi-final, full stop. They of course made the final, made Wembley that year and won against Tranmere. Jerry, this current group 20 years later will be hoping to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, what a turnaround day, and what an occasion, and it's, you know, what a coincidence that it's Aston Villa again, 20 years on, to decide whether or not, you know, we get to the final. So I'm really looking forward to the game tonight. You know, really, really excited. I probably don't sound too excited because I'm freezing here, but believe you me, when the ref blows his whistle, I'm really looking forward to the game tonight.
Matt Elliott wasn't too happy when I suggested I was cold earlier, was he? So apparently we're not allowed to do that anymore, Jerry.
Why is that?
He says I do it all the time now.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not. How
many layers have you got on?
I'm a bit older than you. I've got 5 layers on tonight, and they're doing their job so far, I have to say.
Just in front of us here in the press box, I can see former Villa striker Gerry Thompson. He's equally as wrapped up with a hat on as well, and he says that home advantage will help the Villains, and new signing Mbwana Samata can cause the Foxes problems.
It definitely make a difference because no one knows what he's got. He was playing in Belgium, which I think is an average league anyway. But having seen little bits about him, he's decent in the air. He attacks the ball quite well, and he'll give us a focal point. For all Villa's played the other day against Leicester, and for the games without a centre forward, we've not really had a focal point. And so sometimes we've turned out, we've had opportunities to pass the ball, to put the ball into the box. We've not done it, and now we've got someone we can put the ball into the box. He can attack the ball, so we've got another. It gives us a focal point and gives us another weapon. I think that. Not knowing the level, and I think Dean has said that he's had to get used to the intensity in the last week. So I think we might get maybe an hour out of him, but in that hour he could cause a lot of damage. Home advantage will be massive, but also it could play into Leicester's hands because the onus at Leicester was on Leicester being the home side and trying to attack and try and get something from the game. The onus now is on Aston Villa to go and make something from the game, roared on by like 30,000, 40,000 Villa fans who will want them to win the game and win the game well. You've got to make sure we don't go too gung-ho, just try and win the game early, because Leicester very good with the ball, but excellent on the counter as well. I mean, I'm not sure if Vardy's playing, but Iheanacho for me is a good player as well. They've got some very, very good footballers. They can catch you on the counter, they can play football as well. So, like I say, it's fraught with danger, because if you go for it and you get caught, like the first goal was more all important, but if you go for it and get caught with the first goal against, you've got to go and chase the game again. And this team, I think, is quite canny to catch you on the counter again. So it could be a difficult night. I'm hoping that, you know, it goes okay and then Villa get the first goal, the second goal, and maybe even the third, and then we all, you know, shake hands, have a hug, and we're off to Wembley. But it might not work out like that.
The only place you can listen to every Leicester City match online. This is LCFC Radio.
Obviously the first goal in any game of football, Jerry, is vitally important. None more so, though, than this evening. Because if Leicester get it, as we were hearing from Gerry Thompson there, then Villa will really have to come out, and that's where Leicester can then expose Villa on the counter-attack. But conversely, if Villa then get the opening goal, they'll look to play the way they did at King Power Stadium, and all the onus will be on Leicester. So that in itself, the opening goal tonight, is so important.
Yeah, the opening goal in any game of football is obviously massive, but it's how you deal with it, how you respond to either scoring a goal or losing a goal. You know, sometimes teams, when they score a goal, sit back and play within themselves and cling on for dear life just to protect that one goal advantage. And invariably, that's the wrong thing to do. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens. Obviously, you know, on the flip side of that, if you score a goal, then you should be cheering your players on to try and go and get another one and keep the pressure on the team that have just conceded. So it's going to be interesting to see. Villa took the lead, remember, at Leicester, and then they sat back, tried to soak it up. It didn't work out. Leicester got the equaliser. So that's what I'm trying to say about, you know, resting on your laurels, protecting what you've got and not going again. Be interesting to see what actually happens and who scores first.
Without wanting to put the mockers on Leicester City, you expect Leicester to score tonight, don't you? Which then means Villa will themselves have to score to
you know, I think, again, you go back to the lads in the in the shootout before. If Villa are going to win this, they're going to have to score more than one goal, I think. You know,
on the night.
On the night, yeah, without a doubt. I think because you have to back Leicester to score. There's not been too many, you know, blanks in Leicester's season as far as goals not being scored. So you would have Dean Smith will know that they'll have to score probably 2 goals at least to win this game, which again, looking at Leicester's defence, doesn't happen far too often. So very difficult night for them tonight. But I've seen it before, Dan. You know, pressure does some silly things there as a player or as a group of players. And if it's tight, I'll keep going back. It'll all go down to who handles the nerve, who can handle the pressure the best.
Only 3 times this season, Gerry, Leicester have failed to score.
Well, that speaks for itself. You know, and I'd like to know how many times they've conceded more than 2 goals in a game, because I don't think that's very often. That's only 2 or 3 times as well.
Yeah, it's not many. So hopefully, from a Leicester City point of view, that can continue tonight. But Villa do have a threat up front now this evening. They didn't have a striker at King Power Stadium, but they do tonight, Gerry, in Samatta.
Yeah, and he's played Champions League football. So, and he's played in this country in the Champions League, so he knows a little bit about it.
And scored.
And you know, as Gary Thompson was saying, the Leicester players won't know a lot about him. He'll know more about England than the Leicester players will know about him, or sorry, English football, because he's been here. He played against and scored against Liverpool, so be interesting. And you know, obviously throwing him in at the deep end, probably had no option, in all fairness, Dean Smith. They needed a centre forward. They've got one. And okay, my friend, cup semi-final, second leg, on you go. So again, it'll be interesting to see how he copes with this pressure and the stress of being thrown in at the talk about the deep end. This is the Pacific end.
You talked about that goal at Anfield as well in the Champions League. That was one of 3 that he scored in the group stages of the Champions League, in a tough group that included Liverpool, Napoli, RB Salzburg as well.
Yeah.
He scored 56 goals in 109 starts for Genk in the Belgian top tier. That is some scoring record.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's not get carried away with a standard of Belgian football. I've seen a bit of Belgian football in my time, and it isn't great, you have to say, but sometimes that makes...
got to score there.
Yeah, sometimes that makes it more difficult as a centre forward, because you're relying on service most of the time to score your goals. I would predict, unless he's some kind of Lionel Messi type or Cristiano Ronaldo type, I would predict that he's having to rely on service. So that's a 1-2 record, which is very, very good indeed. So interested to see how he gets on.
Well, his manager Dean Smith will be delighted that he brought him in, and he's been speaking ahead of the game tonight. He says that home advantage for his side could be vital.
I think it's really important. You know, I've been a spectator at a number of games, number of semi-final games at Villa Park, and you know, the atmosphere can be vibrant, and it can certainly help our players and, you know, draw that ball towards the goal, especially from the alt end. So really looking forward to the game, and we'll give ourselves a really good chance by, you know, getting that draw at Leicester, and home advantage can certainly help us.
How much, we've talked about the home advantage already, but how pleased will Dean Smith be that he is well and truly in this tie, and he's got the whole 10 behind him, he's got Villa Park behind him?
Oh, I think leading up to the first leg, if you'd have said to Dean Smith you'd come away from there with a 1-1 draw, I think you'd have snapped your hand off, especially with the injuries that he's had, especially with how the game went here in the league. So he'll be obviously the happier of the 2 managers coming into the second game, and it will play a part. There's no doubt about home advantage tonight. There's no doubt about that if the Villa crowd get behind the players, then, you know, they could make it a difficult night for the players on the pitch. So it's important, as we said before, that the Leicester fans play their part and try and drown out the Villa home crowd.
It is a terrific ground, isn't it, Villa
It's
Park?
one of my favourites, I have to say.
Behind the whole end, how that looks from outside as well, it's got to be one of the most aesthetically pleasing grounds as well.
Yeah, it's a great place to play football, you know. It's just the makeup of the ground, especially, you know. The pitch is superb, the dressing rooms are superb, everything about, you know, it's just a big stadium. and you know it's a classic English football stadium. Fantastic place.
So it's fair to say that the fact that it's home advantage and it's Villa Park could be a bit of a leveller this evening, and when you also look at the management here at Villa, we heard from Dean Smith there, and I'm talking as well the captain in Jack Grealish. There's a Villa connection, there's a love of Villa there.
Yeah.
How much will that help as well? Because it is a semi-final against a big team, they'll probably both remember, well certainly Dean Smith will remember the 2000 Cup final against Leicester that you played in. So how much will the extra passion, do you think that will mean anything in the game this evening?
Well, yeah, of course it means it. Of course it does. But, you know, again, it's all about managing that passion. You know, you can let that passion, you can let it get carried away with it. So you've got to stay on a level. You know, the difference between being over-passionate and under-passionate is very slight indeed. So you have to make sure you're on the right side of that line. And not let emotions, you know, don't let get carried away with your emotions. Sorry, I finally got it out. But yeah, it's a fine line, Dan. But it's the same for all the players, not just the guys who have that immediate connection to Villa. It's about self-pride. It's about how bad do you want to go and play in a cup final at Wembley. That's, to me, what it was all about. You know, I was lucky enough to play in two. But it's about wanting to make sure you go the extra yard, run the extra half a yard to get a challenge in, to do whatever it takes to make sure that you get the opportunity to play in a cup final at Wembley. That's what it's all about.
The Leicester City players have just run down the tunnel now to applause from the Leicester fans, which are away to our left, right by the tunnel, in fact, the travelling Leicester fans. That Cup semi-final 20 years ago, Jerry, will that have any bearing on the game this evening? It won't really mean anything to the management, the staff, the players, but to the fans themselves, the memories are certainly there.
Oh.
And from a Villa point of view as well, just reading the programme.
Getting tonked in the programme, weren't we? Huh?
You were, Jerry, just reading it.
Must have hurt them bad. Must have hurt
Leicester's
the
current
bad.
football is among the most attractive in the country, but that certainly wasn't the case 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The Foxes came to Villa Park with no intention other than shutting out John Gregory's informed team,
Which we
and
did.
It worked.
Yeah, we did. So more for you, John Gregory. You know, who picked the cup up, John? Let's just put it like that. You see, everyone has nothing good to say when they lose, do they? I'm sure if they'd have won that time and on to win the cup, there'd have been applaudness for our stubborn play. But sorry, great. Some people, they never learn, do they? A win is a win is a win.
Yeah, did it make you, probably reading that would have made you even happier, and that thought that you did go on and win the trophy?
Listen, there's an old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to win the semi-final of a League Cup. And we did exactly what we needed to do to get to Wembley. We were missing 4 or 5 of our top players at the stage. You know, we had Big Matty up front in both ties, I think. And, you know, it worked a treat in the second tie. You know, we didn't play smash and grab football in the second tie. It was a proper game of football, and we beat them fair and square. So, yes, this game here, it'll go down as probably one of the unattractive game of football that I think I've played in, but we came away with 0-0. And that's exactly what, you know, we needed to get them back, get a few players back on the pitch and get the job done. And you exactly did get the job done. You made the final. You suspect, though, the style of play from Brendan Rodgers' team will be slightly different to what it was 20 years ago because of the personnel, but they'll be hoping that the end result is exactly like it was 20 years ago. No, absolutely. And again, the game is finally poised. It's level going into the second leg, into the second leg tonight. So it's all to play for from both teams. And I think mainly, you know, when it's a tie like this, or when you're on the cusp of something fantastic, you somehow have to go out and try and enjoy the atmosphere, the occasion. It's pretty difficult. You know, I didn't enjoy the final that much because I didn't want to lose. But tonight's slightly different, so as a player you have to try and go out and enjoy yourself. And Leicester know within the heart of hearts they've got the beating of this team, and that's what they have to go out there and prove and believe in. They know they're better than this Villa team. Just go out, and reproduce the goods.
Well, let's hear from the man that's speaking to the Leicester City starting 11 and substitutes right now down below us in the dugouts and in the dressing rooms here at Leicester City. That is, of course, Brendan Rodgers. He says that tonight, keeping a calm head is going to be key.
It's a wonderful opportunity for us. We played well here in the first game, didn't quite get the result that we wanted. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. We obviously have been there earlier on the season and played very, very well, so we have that confidence. But we know it's going to be tight, and we know that both teams will be all out to get to the final. Aston Villa have had a couple of good results of late, so that'll give them confidence. But our focus is very much on our own game, and looking to bring that quality that we've had, and just like I said, aim to get to that first final. So, but you just got to stay calm. I think there's a lot of emotion around these games, but you have to play with emotion, of course. But then you have to play with that calmness and not overthink it as well. So, be a great occasion, and we aim to perform well and hopefully get the result we want.
That was interesting, Gerry, hearing from Brendan Rodgers there. He says that, of course, there'll be emotion. You have to play with emotion, but you also have to keep a calm head at the same time. And that kind of comes back to what we were saying at the beginning of Matchday Live this evening, that trying to get the perfect balance between knowing it's a semi-final, knowing a trip to Wembley in a major cup semi-final awaits, but also knowing you've got a game of football at the same time. Getting that balance right is key.
Without a doubt, and it's the key moments in the games that, where that will arise. For the most part, the players will know exactly. They'll have been through umpteen scenarios in a game of football and dealt with it, in exactly the same way. And it's about recreating those moments tonight and dealing with them in the same way. And that involves emotion, but it's about keeping a lid on that emotion at the right moment and not letting, the pressure of the situation, overspill, and then you don't deal with a scenario like you would have dealt with 10, 20, 30 times before.
How could that translate then to a moment on the pitch?
A mistake.
Is it diving in?
Yeah, a mistimed challenge, a mistake, a mistimed header.
Blazing one over the bar when you're
blazing one over the bar, failing to, regain composure in front of the goal. All them kind of scenarios, that's when you know the pressure's getting to you. So if you see mistakes tonight, and mistakes that we haven't seen before, then you'll know why.
They've certainly turned the PA up to 11 this evening, trying to get the atmosphere going inside Villa Park. And well, that's one of the things that Brendan Rodgers was asked about in the week. He was asked whether Villa are favourites for the second leg due to the fact that they are here at home.
No, I don't really see it as who's favourites. I think that it's very, very well balanced. It's 1-1. There's no away goals, so it's very much in the balance. So for us, we're happy where it's at. We knew even if we took a lead in, it was always going to be a difficult game. So for us, we're very focused and ready and prepared, and we'll just now relax and get concentrated on the game and be ready for kick-off.
That is exciting to hear that he says we're ready, we're relaxed, and we're also excited as well.
Absolutely. It's probably, we spoke about it earlier in the show, we've got to try and stay relaxed. Yes, focus, but you have to try and feel relaxed. Something that, again, I'll say I wasn't brilliant at feeling relaxed because I played centre half. I didn't want to make mistakes because invariably make mistakes to lead the goals. So, but as far as being in possession of the ball, moving forward with the ball, that's where you've got to get that relaxation, that calmness into your game, and try and, take the heat out of the situation, the occasion.
What do you think is the final message that Brendan Rodgers is saying to those players right now?
I don't know. I'd say go out, do what it says, do what we do on the training pitch as much as you can. Don't make mistakes at the back. Keep that team spirit, that hard work. Move the ball quickly, and when you lose it, get back and win it back. Just keep it simple. Don't put too much emphasis on what's in front of the players tonight. try not to change too much of the build-up as you would do if it was a league game.
Well, here we go then. We're 5 minutes away from kick-off for this Carabao Cup semi-final second leg at Villa Park. It's Aston Villa against Leicester City. You can hear it all on LCFC Radio. Just head to lcfc.com just before kick-off as this feed will stop. So it's time now to hand you over to your commentary team this evening of Gerry Taggart and first Chris Parrott.
Maddison! Oh, that is absolutely brilliant! And it's a beauty. Jamie Vardy again for Leicester City. He's up and running. What a fantastic goal!
Touch, back of the net.
Come on. There's a somersault to celebrate with the travelling Blue Army.
All the games, all the goals and all the big moments. You're listening to LCFC Radio.
Welcome to a bouncing Villa Park for the biggest night of the season so far. Leicester City and Aston Villa are just 90 minutes away from Wembley. It's been 20 long years since the Foxes last made it to a major cup final. Will that wait end this evening? The players are in the tunnel. Like in the 99-2000 season, it's Aston Villa who stand in Leicester's way. And like back then, it's level pegging after the first leg of the semi-final. Strap yourselves in for a potentially nerve-shredding night. Well, the flags are out. There's been jets of flames flying into the cold winter's night air here in Birmingham. And Villa Park is crackling with anticipation. The two sets of players currently shaking hands below us in the tunnel here at one of English football's greatest stadiums. It's used to hosting semi-finals here at Villa Park, and they are making a right old din, the Villa fans and the 4,000 travelling Leicester City supporters to our left-hand side. Kelechi Iheanacho currently shaking hands with Kasper Schmeichel and co. Jack Grealish down below us, about to lead the Villa players out. Here they come. Villa Park provides the perfect backdrop for a huge evening ahead. Opportunity knocked for Leicester City and for Aston Villa. Can the Foxes take their chance, win this semi-final and book a place at Wembley Stadium in early March? Quite a sight as the two sets of players walk out of the tunnel with fire blasting up into the air opposite us in front of the Doug Ellis stand. The whole end in full voice next to a banner which simply says "We are Villa," and to our left-hand side 4,000 blue and white Leicester supporters throwing balloons up into the air, adding to a very special atmosphere. Alongside myself is one of Leicester's heroes from 20 years ago when the Foxes beat Villa at this stage and went on to lift the trophy. Gerry Taggart, must take you back. What an occasion. It is about managing that from Leicester City's point of view.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic occasion. It almost feels like a Champions League night, doesn't it, with the flames and the flags. You know, and fair play to Villa for ramping it up. But yeah, you know, it's a great occasion for the players. Many more of these occasions just round the corner, hopefully, as well. But tonight is a night where you try and leave everything on the pitch. Have no regrets whatsoever when that whistle takes off. That's all you can ask from the players. Have no regrets.
Handshakes are over. Here are the two teams. For Leicester, 8 changes from the FA Cup win at Brentford. Kasper Schmeichel is in goal. 4-1-4-1 formation. Ricardo, Soinchu, Evans and Chilwell are the back four. And Didi, the holding midfielder, back and fit to start just 2.5 weeks after that knee operation. Ahead of him, Perez, Tielemans, Maddison and Barnes. Kelechi Iheanacho leads the line. Jamie Vardy back in the squad, but only fit enough for a place on the bench, alongside Dennis Pratt, Mark Albrighton, Philip Benkovic, Damari Gray, James Justin and Danny Ward. As you might have just heard from the deafening PA system, Aston Villa hand a debut to Mwana Samatta. What a night for him, having just arrived from Genk, the Tanzania international. He is up front for them. This is the Villa 11. Orhan Nieland in goal. A back three of Esri Konza, Tyrone Mings and Courtney Hawes. Midfield four, Matt Targett and Frederick Gilbert, who are the wing-backs essentially. Douglas Luiz and Marvellous Nakamba, the holding midfielders, with Grealish, the captain, and Anwar El Ghazi in support of Samatta, who's arrived in the West Midlands for the best part of £10 million and has handed his debut on the biggest night of the campaign for Aston Villa. 5 years since they last raced the Major Cup final. It's 20 for Leicester City, and Kasper Schmeichel and Jack Grealish have just done the coin toss, and I think Leicester have won it because they've turned the two teams around. And instead of Aston Villa attacking the whole end in the second half, they're going to do so in the first period, Gerry Taggart. This has become a very regular tactic, and hence the boos.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a little playing mind games already. Kasper, well done. And that's a tactic as well that the manager will give to his captain. Win the